Good evening, and welcome to Having a Drink with Mink. I'm your host, Jason McMink. Wait a minute, that didn't come out right. You see, I'm captivated by this here McDonald's placemat from, I guess, sometime in the mid-1970s would be my guess. Now, I don't have any hard and fast information on this one, but I gotta tell you, I love it. I think it's fantastic, and oh baby, it's official. There's no question. You can't argue with those golden arches. But what we have going on right here is a placemat, like I said, from the mid 1970s. And what I love about it is it's just so ever so slightly off model. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, all the characters recognizable, of course. There are certain, visual distinctions that you can't miss, but then there are some subtleties that the astute viewer will notice. We'll start off with Ronald, of course, because, he's Ronald, isn't he? And here he is looking, I don't know, happy enough, I suppose, but something ain't quite right about him. He's got kind of a John Wayne Gacy-esque sort of quality, It looks like he's just happy to have you visiting him in his van. So, come on down. It's got a nice little spot by the river, real quiet. And then we have Grimace here. And this is Grimace's later incarnation, interestingly enough. Grimace started off in 1972 as a heavy, if you can believe that. He was a bad guy. And he had 4 arms as well, all the better to steal your milkshake with. But then he was re-envisioned 2 years later and brought back. Now here he is. He's not quite the bright purple character that we know and love today, but he was sort of this is his gray Hulk period, if you will. And then we have Mayor McCheese there wearing his finest Paisley Park regalia, looking good. Vote for me, as if there was any other option. Has anyone else ever been mayor of McDonaldland? Let me know in the comments section below. And here's something that you wouldn't really see going forward after a certain point. It's the hamburger patch. That is right. McDonald's, when they started off, there was this idea that the hamburgers, they grew on plants, and they were much like fruit. As to the googly eyes that looked at you, that knowing smile, I'm not quite sure, look at this one. Oh, that's amazing. As to what happens to the eyes once you pick them, well, I guess they just close forever, huh? Kind of sad when you think about it, but boy, they sure are delicious. And then what else do we have here? Oh, here's Captain Crook. And he's looking pretty good as well. Fry Guy looking on disapprovingly, as they do. And then, hey, here he is. It's the Hamburglar. And once again, this is an earlier version of the character back before he was redesigned in the 1980s to be more kid-friendly. And then here he is. What's this guy's name? Oh, I got some notes here. Let me consult them. Because it's that important. Oh, it's Officer Big Mac. Yeah, that's obvious that there's some nepotism going on here. I'm guessing you don't get that gig without being related to this guy somehow. You know what I mean? Corruption. It's so obvious, it's criminal. And then at the back here we have the professor, and, they all seem to be leaving him behind, him and his weird science experiments. What can you say? But I was thrilled to pick this up. It was on the free table at my local comic book shop. That's Ides Entertainment in downtown Pittsburgh. I guess they felt that no one would want this, but how wrong they were. So it'll go in a place of honor here on the studio shelf for sure. Whew, well, hey, that was a bit of a detour, huh? But I just had to share it with you because I was so thrilled to add it to the collection. Cheers to you. Thank you for joining us on this Friday evening. We are back, baby. I know things have been a little inconsistent as of late. I've been very busy. What can I say? My apologies to you if you've been tuning in and I've not been there, but, I'll be working on that for sure. So let's wet our whistles and get right into it because, of course, we got a big pile of shit here to look at. Okay. As you can see, we're joined by naked Woody Harrelson, and he's doing a sort of a mirror Star Trek thing. Looking pretty good in that gold tunic, I must say. Certainly been working those calf muscles out. All right, Woody. And then we'll put him down here. Ah! Bite his face off. Oh, I moved the microphone. Sorry, Larry. I've been told not to touch the microphone. All right, what next? I have these two Treasury editions. That is right. This is the Superman and the Amazing Spider-Man, one of the earliest Treasury editions. Now, this is sans cover, but that's what made it so cheap. And, yeah, it'd be nice to have a cover copy, but I'm not going to let that get me down. It's not getting them down by any stretch of the imagination. This is a fantastic original story. It was presented by Carmine Infantino and Stan Lee, written by Jerry Conway, drawn by Ross Andro, inked by Dick Gordiano, lettered by Gasper Saldino, like all the way through. That's pretty great. And Jerry Serpe does the colors. So yeah, happy to add this to the Treasury editions. And then alongside of that, here is Batman versus the Hulk. It is the team-up, well, you maybe never expected outside playing in your sandbox with your Mego figures, but here it is, much thinner, notably, than Superman and Spider-Man. I guess they felt that there was a little bit less to work with. It's the blazing battle you never expected to see, but nonetheless, they're going to charge you $250 to see it. But hey, how about that back cover, huh? Wow, we got Two-Face, we got the Rhino, we got the Killer Moth, Abomination, and the Scarecrow, and the Leader. Oh, wow. All right. Well, hey, I take it back. I'd pay double that, but don't tell them. All right, now, as I'd said before, in the past video, I've been getting into the idea of vinyl, the concept of vinyl, if you will. I hadn't had a record player until last weekend when I picked one up. So thank you very much for the hookup out there. And what we got are 5 records that I can't wait to play once I get an amplifier and some speakers. Hey, I'm 1/3 of the way there. It's the Firehouse 5+2. It's hot jazz, baby. You know it. This is a 78. Fantastically enough. Oh, wait, maybe it is a 33. It's been a long time since I played it, but the Firehouse 5 jazz story starts off in 1949, and as far as I know, goes up to 1950. So I guess I'll have a few more of these to pick up if they made any more. But we have all your favorites. We got the Fireman's Lament. We got Red Hot River Valley and Blues, My Naughty Sweetie Gave to Me. So I'm really looking forward to playing this on the record player. And when I do, well, I'll see if I can play a little sample for you. We'll check out what YouTube will allow and not allow. I feel like I maybe better pull this a little closer. There you go. And Woody's still standing, which is excellent. And then we have the Batman theme, played by the Marquettes. Who are they? I'll think like the Dollar Bin Ventures, perhaps. I don't know, maybe I'm being unkind to the Marquettes because they really go all the way on this one. Not only do they do the Batman theme, but we have the Batmobile song, we have the Joker, the Riddler, the Penguin, they all get tunes, as well as the Bat Cape and Dr. Death. I mean, I can't wait to hear what that sounds like. I have to say that when I picked this up at picked it up at like a flea market many years ago, I just thought, wow, can't go wrong for a buck, and certainly excited to clean it up and throw it on the turntable, and I'll keep you posted. Good friend of mine, Rob, hooked me up with this. It's Sergio Leone's soundtrack for the film Duck, You Sucker, one of my all-time favorite films as well. I refer to it as Star Wars for grown-ups. And if you've seen the film, maybe you get that, maybe you don't. But it's an excellent flick by Sergio Leone, starring James Coburn and Rod Steiger. And absolutely dynamite. Oh, yeah. I'm well known for listening to this particular soundtrack. Listen to it for hours at a time, actually, much to certain people's dismay. I apologize. What can I say? I'm a creature of habit. Speaking of, here's Cheech and Chong's Los Chochinos. And I have actually heard this album because for some reason it belonged to my mom. I wonder what was going on there, huh? But this is an excellent comedy album by the duo in their prime. And what do we got on the back? Well, they're a couple handsome ladies, aren't they? Looking pretty good out there in the desert. And what's going on here? Well, this ties into their first film. And they got a vehicle, and this one is stuffed with weed. So I guess they're transporting it somewhere. And then on the back, we have all the pertinent information. Tracks like Peter Rooter, Up His Nose, an all-time classic, and Basketball Jones, featuring a guitar solo from none other than Beatle George Harrison. What the hell he was doing hanging out with these two? Well, who knows? Might have to do with what's going on in this particular car. Who can say? Speaking of the Beatles, we're going to wrap things up on the vinyl front with this album. Now, I got to say this one, very important to me as a listener because this was my first album. Yeah, maybe I had a few novelty records. I think I had like a Star Wars record and, some other random miscellaneous crap, but this was the first rock album that was, that began my collection, to be honest with you. Now, my mother had a copy of this, and her copy had been dropped on the floor of the roller skating rink, and subsequently there was a big chunk missing from the first band, so it meant that you couldn't play A Hard Day's Night or I Should Have Known Better, which made a short album even shorter, but nonetheless, I listened to this album over and over again as a young man, because, it was the only Beatles album I had. I would rush home from school, and I would watch the cartoon. I would enjoy the music when I heard it on the radio, but this was the only record I had at the time. And while that would be remedied in the future, I gotta say that this remains a favorite for me. Beatles fans may lament the fact that the cover is very different than the British version, which had multiple pictures of the band, but that's replicated here on the back. I think that the front is a much more U.S.-friendly visual dynamic. This is the sort of poster that you would see back in the day to really get your eye focusing on the lads. Puddin' bowl haircuts, according to liner notes. So this is great. Got all your favorites, A Hard Day's Night, Tell Me Why, I'll Cry Instead, as well as some excellent George Martin instrumental versions of Beatles tracks like And I Love Her and I Should Have Known Better. All right, what's next? Why, it's the big show. It's what you've all come here for. That's right, it's 9 pounds of mystery comics. Presumably. I have to assume that they're comic books. I mean, it could be anything in here. Certainly was the last time I opened a mystery box, but, you never saw that episode, now did you? But what do we got here? This is a box from Craig Bonet. Craig has been nice enough to send us mystery boxes before, and we were absolutely delighted at the contents in the past, and I'm sure that this will also be quite fantastic. So, here we go. Thank you, Joe. Put you away until next time. All right, so we have a curious volume. It's the practice of teaching the English language. Okay, we'll see what that's all about. Take a look at it in the near future. Then we have how languages are learned. And, this could be good. We'll see. Then we have an introduction to language, which is fantastic because I've been hoping to get into it. You know what I mean? I really I want to know. Really want to know all about it there. And then we have techniques and principles in language teaching. So there's a bit of a theme going on here. Not necessarily the theme that I would have expected, but hey, I was told there was a little bit of everything in this box, and well, we got some of these. These could be good. And what else? There's a little note in here. Maybe that'll give us a little bit of insight in this particular box. We are writing to inform you that regrettably the enclosed item has been damaged in handling by the U.S. Postal Service. We understand how important your mail is to you, and you have every right to expect it to be delivered intact and in good condition. So, it appears that this box of comics that was sent has been damaged to the point where now they're books on language. That is very curious. Well, I'll make it a point to hit Mr. Bonet up, and we'll see what that's all about. Gosh, that was sort of the big thing we were going to do here today. Well, that's all right. Just let me think about it for a minute. I think that I may have a remedy. Larry, is the remedy ready? All right, I'm going to go, and I'll be right back. What's that? We're back? Oh, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm joined by Lady Elaine Fairchild here of the neighborhood of Make Believe. She's going to weigh in on the subject at some point in time. I contacted Mr. Bonet in the interim, and he assures me that what he sent was not, in fact, English instruction manuals, but comic books. So it looks like the post office, well, they really screwed you good, pal! Lady Elaine, don't be so cruel. I can't help it, bucko. You really got boned. He thought he was going to get comic books, and he got instruction books on English. Take a point, pal. Wow. I was told not to, ever work with puppets. I guess I know why now. Boomerang, toomerang, sumerang, sucker. All right, well, let's get right to it. I do have some comics to show you. In fact, I moved time and space itself. I actually got the books from next week's episode out, and, well, here they are. We're going to look through them now. So, Lady Elaine, I've got a bit of a problem. You do you, Toots! Okay. Oh dear, what have I done? All right, well, let's get right to it. Enough of the fooling around, huh? We have the Berkeley Comic-Con program book from 1973, and this is a fantastic little piece featuring work from comics artists of the underground movement, all sorts of great creators participating in this particular book. It's not necessarily in mint condition. We've got a little bit of rust, a little bit of foxing, some staining, and, I'm guessing a lot of doobies were rolled up in these, but nonetheless, it's a fascinating historical artifact containing art from many of your favorite creators, including one of mine, that's Rand Holmes, specifically why I bought this book, and we'll be looking at Rand's work in a future Comics for Breakfast, so this is a very nice little piece, goes in the archive. Next up, what do we have? Why, it's some Archie Annual number 21. It's giant size edition. For 25 cents, boy, you do get a lot of entertainment. If you can't get a quarter out of Mom for this comic, well, she certainly doesn't appreciate value, does she? And this is a fun little cover, very evocative of that scene in A Clockwork Orange. Next up, what do we have? Here's some more Archie. Betty and Veronica's Christmas Spectacular, and, shucks, why don't you take that blindfold off, Betty, and let her join in the holiday fun? That's what I'm saying. And it seems like a book is getting skipped over right here at Soft Boy and Friends. This is issue number 3. I showed you issue number 1 in a previous episode. And this is a fun little book which focuses on the grittier aspects of urban lifestyle, but nonetheless shines a ray of sunshine on all that stuff right there. Highly recommended, Soft Boy and Friends. But hey, we're back to Riverdale. It's Archie's Madhouse. These are always a lot of fun. I especially enjoy these holiday-themed covers. Here we have 2 spooky witches in front of a full moon. And then, this is phenomenal. Here's Jughead and Big Ethel. Jug, don't I look like I stepped out of a magazine? Yeah, a science fiction magazine. You don't get writing like that today, folks. No siree, Bob. And then here we have Archie's joke book. This is a nice Christmas-themed issue. Quite like that. And Betty's gotten her dream gift, a ginger oaf. I guess she was good that year. And then we have, here's another theme issue. You know, it's got the spooky thing going on there with the Frankenstein monster. Rent a monster for $1 an hour. I guarantee he'll persuade your father to double your allowance. And he'd better, because where's Archie going to get $1 otherwise? That was a lot of money back now. And what next? Oh, it's backwards. Larry, come on. So much for production values, huh? It's Marvel Fanfare number 1. I've always wanted this book. It was a wall book for a long time. Had a bit of a prestige, and happily, I was able to track it down for a good price. Features Spidey in the Savage Land with some spectacular artwork. Then we have Marvel Tales starring Spider-Man, and this cover looks a little bit different than it did when it first appeared on the newsstand. It was white, now it's purple, but hey, it was the 1980s. After all, everything was purple, even the rain. And Spider-Man goes mad. And then here's Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, number 11. Call him luck, call him death. Well, they don't tell us what they call him, actually. Not sure what's going on here. It's some sort of Las Vegas-themed villain. Make sure you see his show and stick around for the buffet. I hear it's fantastic. Then here's some Halloween horror from Eclipse Comics, and if I'm not mistaken, oh yeah, this reprints some pre-code horror. Fantastic Mother Hubbard story. If you've never experienced Mother Hubbard, well, it's well worth it. Some very eye-opening stuff, you bet. And then what do we have? Evil Dead, featuring Sam Raimi's classic characters. And this has John Bolton artwork. Now, I got hip to John Bolton through his comics work, and his adaptation of Army of Darkness for Dark Horse was phenomenal. So to be able to experience his take on the original Evil Dead, well, I'm all in. Now, this is issue number 3. I have to track the first 2 down, but I'm thinking they'll be well worth it. And then what do we have next? It's Black Hole. Here's some more Charles Burns. I certainly don't want to get called out by the heat. And then here's Extinct, a collection of perfectly awful tales from the golden age of comics. And this all looks phenomenal. I flip through here, and there's loads of interesting stuff, from funny animals to horror stuff, and even public service announcements like your polio precautions. Don't you ever miss them. And then here's some Fat Fury. American Comics Group reprints of the Fat Fury, and these are in black and white, but they're well worth it, because otherwise those original Fat Furies, well, they can be kind of expensive, so nice to have them. Oh, here's another Black Hole. How about that? I picked these up a couple weeks ago, and not really sure what's in the pile at this point in time. Let's hear it for the fading memory of old age. but that stuff was really common back in the 1980s. And hey, here's the next breed. It's Jack Kirby's Silver Star. These are interesting books from Pacific Comics. Pacific basically said, "Hey, Jack, you want to do a comic?" And Jack said, "Do I?" And he banged these out. He did Silver Star and what was the other one? Major Victory. And they're a lot of fun. You know, folks might feel that Kirby was past his prime at that point in time, but I feel Jack is painting in big strokes. And the stories are still very entertaining, well worth your time. Now here is Gilbert Studios and Tundra Publishing presenting Michael T. Gilbert's Mr. Monster. I'm a big Mr. Monster fan. Mike Gilbert, he's a great fellow. I've actually interviewed him on this channel. And so I've been following Mr. Monster for years, and somehow I missed this one the first time out. So very excited to check it out. It has a beautiful, kind of like a matte cover, very eye-catching. Some dynamic artwork. Wow, look at that guy. Bad news, for sure. But I'm sure Mr. Monster will pull through, because he always does. Then here's Jungle Girls, Wild Side. And this very well may be another Bill Black book, because Bill Black, well, he was all about, yes, Bill Black. He's all about those Jungle Girls, but this is a great way of getting stuff like Matt Baker's stories that otherwise you might really have to jump through hoops to get. And then on the back, we have TV's original Sheena, Trish McCullough. There she is, folks. And she's waiting for you. 1-800-TRISH McCullough. Then here's Wall of Flesh and Other Horrors. This story in particular, very creepy. And I'm sure it's even more dynamic in black and white. Here's some Vampirella classics. I love those old Warren magazines, but sometimes they can be a little prohibitive price-wise. So this is a fun way to get those classic stories. And they're reprinted in full color. So that's a nice little bonus for all you Vampy fans. And then here's some Men of Mystery in Space Comics. And the Space Sentinel battles Zog, the master of Saturn. And, wow, he does not look happy. Then on the back, we have some more publications. And then we have Kolchak, the Night Stalker of the Living Dead. George Romero's estate is on the phone. They're not happy about this. But this looks like a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of Kolchak. And these comics, well, they can be hit or miss, but, well, the price was right, so I figured I'd pull the trigger. Hey, why not? At the very least, we can talk about it here on Having a Drink with Mink. Speaking of which, then here's some more Mr. Monster. Mr. Monster presents Crack-a-Boom. What's this one all about? Well, it seems like it's an anthology featuring some contemporary creators, but it does have a Mr. Monster story in glorious one color. That's red. I don't know. I'll put my 3D glasses on and see what happens. Maybe I'll cover one eye to really get the effect. Then here's Monster Boy. He's horrific. I can't say I know a whole lot about this title other than, well, you had me at Monster Boy, really. Because I like to think of myself as a Monster Boy, too. So here's some fantastic fables. They're Basil Wolverton, so you know you're in for a good time. And then what next? Why, it's the Invincible Iron Man. That is right. Why not? We'll throw some Marvels in here just to, keep you on your toes, I zig when you zag. And here he is fighting the Riders. Oh, no, the Raiders. Riders, completely different group of armored losers. Here's another Captain Victory in the Galactic Rangers. And then we have a few more tales too terrible to tell, and these are very dynamic and eye-catching. They have a very EC-esque quality to them that you could hardly miss on the newsstand. We have issue number 7 right here. This is number 2. And both of these have wonderful cover galleries on the back as well. So they're really giving you your value for your money. I know that I've been harping on that perhaps quite a bit, but I think it's more important than ever with the economy in the toilet and all. It's a very eye-catching green there. Oh, coming at ya. And then what next? Some more Jungle Girls featuring Tiger Girl. Oh, I wish I'd had this a month ago so I could have talked about it on Comics for Breakfast. And then we have Marvel 2-in-1, The Thing and the Black Widow. This is number 10, so it's a nice early issue, and it features that iconic panel that so many of us have seen and sweated over, perhaps. It all depends. Maybe you get out more than I do. You probably do. I bet you ride your bike a lot. Then we have The Savage Dragon and Martial Law number 2. Now, I picked up number 1 and the previous issue, and I didn't realize there was a sequel, or at least a continuation of the story, so here we have it. So we'll be able to check that on out. And then, what do we have? One more? Okay. Here's a Marvel Tale starring Spider-Man. Some excellent Ditko goodness. No one draws the Green Goblin quite like Steve. Goblin and the Gangsters. And then we're going to finish things off with a nice copy of The Badger number 1. That is right. It's Capital Comics. Sadly, long gone now, but they did bring us some wonderful publications. First Comics picked up publication of The Badger with issue number 5, but anytime I have an opportunity to pick this book up, I do because, well, I have nothing but fond memories of it. All right, well, this has been one heck of an episode, hasn't it? There's been ups and downs. We've laughed, we've cried, we've been berated by puppets. It's been a whirlwind, for sure. I'm Jason Mink. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully we'll have a new Comics for Breakfast up this weekend. I ain't making any promises at this point. I'm a very busy man. Thank you for bearing with us, and I hope to see you next time. Cheers.